Danny and Input cruising through the airwaves. Transformers knowledge blast that never caves. Reviews so sharp they'll cut through steel. In the podcast world, they're the real deal. Jumping in the deep end, swimming with the best. Danny's got the info and she never needs to rest. Input's got the passion like a roaring jet. Together they make a mark you won't forget. Dynamic duo, never gonna quit. Taking over airwaves, super lit. Transformers podcast bringing the heat. Every single episode can't be beat.
Ta-da!
And we are here, and if we are here, that means you are listening, and that must mean that it's me, it's that N-PUT, and I'm mobbing once again with Danny, Double D. And Danny, I've just got one question for you coming from me. Everyone's talking about, Canada needs to be the 51st state. Let me ask you this. Can America become the 11th Canadian province? Is that...
yeah, maybe. I don't know how many provinces there are, but sure. I mean, yeah. Yep. Let's do it. Let's just all, yeah, I mean...
Let's do that.
I'll be moving to Hawaii, whatever country it is, but yeah. But yeah, welcome. Thank you, Input. Yeah, today we are talking about Hasbro no longer making toys and toy tariffs. Clickbait, maybe? So, no, I'm kidding. But yeah,
baby.
It's all clickbait, baby. But yeah, get into it. Thank you for everyone for being here in the chat. I'm going to just do a little breakdown before we get into the toy part, and then we'll get into the tariff part. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, here we go. Hasbro is not completely stopping toy production. However, there have been shifts in their business strategy. Recent reports indicate that Hasbro is scaling back on producing certain toy lines themselves and focusing more on licensing their brands to other companies for toy manufacturing, as well as emphasizing games and digital ventures, for instance. Hasbro has reduced its direct involvement in toy production for brands like Transformers and Star Wars by partnering with other companies like Takara, sub-licensing stuff to others, while still maintaining overall control on core brands like Monopoly, Nerf, and Play-Doh. This shift began noticeably in 2024 and continues into 2025 with a focus on profitability and reducing overstock risks. So while Hasbro isn't exiting toy making entirely, they are producing fewer toys directly and pivoting towards a broader entertainment and gaming focused strategy.
So there's a lot to dissect, and the first thing I want to ask you, Danny, where did you read that off of?
I took that. I took the thing that Hasbro actually did. Like they actually put out a few 4 or 5 page statements, and then I just got Gork AI to summarize it for me.
Okay.
So it's from the Chris Koch thing a bit, and yeah,
I saw that because he did an interview with Yahoo Finance. So the entire interview and all that stuff is over on Yahoo Finance. If you guys want to skim through, I think it's 4 or 5 pages long or something. Yeah, that whole entire interview. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I think the main problem is that everybody, the overstock, the overmaking and overproduction and stuff with their shareholders. Let's not forget that Hasbro is possibly being sued by their shareholders for lying to them for I think, if I remember right, 2 or 3 years about how much collectors actually wanted for all this stuff, amount wise, not price, but how many figures and all this other stuff. You can see that at Ollie's. You can see that at every video. Anybody goes toy hunting at this point, they stop at Ross and they stop at Ollie's and all this stuff. So that kind of devalues the brand. So you can do one of two things. You can do the Ferrari idea, where if there's 1,000 people that want a Ferrari, you make 999. So the demand is always there, even for older product. Or you meet that demand and you make a few more, so people don't have to worry about getting it, right?
Yeah.
I I'm very much in the pocket of if 1,000 people want it, then you make 1,020, right? So you just end up sitting on the 20 or whatever that may be. One of the other things I want to remind everybody in that Yahoo Finance article, what Chris Cox was saying. Chris Cox also got like a bonus last year of something like $8 million, something outrageous. And in that interview, he was also talking about the reason why they're doing this is because the toy profit margin is so small, right? And if these companies, and this goes for all of them, every last one of them, would learn to reinvest instead of having these corporate power greedy, mongers up top. I'm trying to be nice in this episode. Instead of having these greedy corporate swines heading all these companies and actually take a lot of this money and reinvest it back into their company, they wouldn't be worrying about very small profit margins on the figures. They wouldn't be worrying about all this other stuff, right? Like that comes along with that stuff. If CM Punk said, to quote CM Punk, if you can't live off of $1 million a year, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. God, I know. I just want a couple extra $1,000, but yeah, and I know the part of it too. Like they're just lazy in ways, and like because toys, like they're not as popular with a certain demographic anymore. And even people in their late or their mid-20s, they're still kind of part of that old system and see it. But I see it with people that are just not into it as much. And there is younger people that are into it, and I think they could do it if they did a better job on making better shows and stuff to go behind the toys. You can it's like Wolf of Wall Street. Like I could sell anything to anyone. It just has to have, you just have the right marketing, and you just have to have the hype there. And, and they're just kind of getting lazy. Well, people aren't into toys. People aren't into this. Then we're just going to stop that. We're just going to go down the digital way and the game man. Yeah, they got to do that eventually. Cause 20, 30 years from now, things will be so different. Right. But it's just, just completely abandoned. Some of it just like that. It just seems lazy to me.
Yeah, and they're talking about doing all the video game stuff and going into that and everything else. And the problem with that is they had that Transformers game that they canceled, right? Like Reactivate.
Yeah.
And the problem with this is that they got a gaming company CEO from Wizards of the Coast to head up their division, right? And if I remember correctly, Chris Cox's background is actually video games. I think he was like CEO of like Bungie or something, right?
Something, yeah.
If you guys don't know, Bungie is the guys who make Halo and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like, of course he wants to steer it into a video game direction and a digital media type of thing because that's what he knows. The thing that Goldner, I feel like had some type of grasp on, that Chris Cox doesn't, is that you have to have really badass media to go with whatever product that you're attempting to sell at this point, right? You need a really, really good cartoon. Think about every Transformers fan, no matter the generation, no matter the era, whatever age group that they fall into, where their Transformers was their G1. So I'm 40, so G1 was my G1, right? So like people who are 30, Beast Wars is their G1. People who are like 25 or whatever, like Armada is their G1, right? Those fandoms have really, really strong fandoms because of that, right?
My favorite's G1, just to let you know, hey, just to put my G1. Make more G1 toys and the brand will go back up, I promise.
T-Talk Raw in the live chat says, I think Hasbro and Mattel need to take lessons from Lego and to a much smaller degree McFarlane. Just do really good, fun, focused products and stop trying to rule the earth. That's a very valid point, and that was something that I was going to get to as well, right? Like, and really if you guys have listened to my live news streams or whatever for the last few years now, I've said this before, and I wholeheartedly mean it. Transformers needs to focus on maybe one or two lines tops. They don't need a bunch of gimmicky stuff all over the place, because that's wasting plastic, that's wasting materials, that's wasting money
and time
that could go into the other lines, right? So like if you have like Cyberverse has a cartoon, then produce Cyberverse toys, and don't produce like little cheap kiddie stuff and be like, hey, this is the collector's side and this is the kid's side. No, you do it all in one thing.
Yeah,
right?
or just heavily focused. Like this is for kids, and it is a little kiddier, like that shit we did on the Toy Fair thing, like the more imagination style stuff, and it's kind of cool in its own way. And then just the collector's line, but just more, just more mainstream, more like just done way better. Not like, because those cheap things that look like chew toys and the big head gimmick things, like no, like just make it one line for kids with a show, and then just do the collector's thing, and you can still branch out. Takara will still put stuff here and there and this and that, but it's like they just need to all that junky stuff, like they don't need that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really that like TTR said and you said, focus, and that's really what hits the nail on the head. I feel like Mattel is guilty of it as well with their WWE line. They've got the Elite line, which is like hyper articulated, the base stuff, and then they got like the in between thing. Get rid of that base stuff.
And that stuff that ends up at like dollar stores, it's actually not knockoff. It is their brand. Sometimes you see it at grocery stores. Like, it's not necessary. Just put the cheaper kid stuff there instead. Like, just maybe they have core size, or you know what I mean, smaller Legend Styles figures like that. But get rid of that, like that dollar store stuff. And like, there's so much other stuff that's overproduced that they don't need.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when we grew up, there was one line. There was G1, and then there was Beast Wars. That was it. And they had kick-ass cartoons, right?
Exactly.
And I think the other thing that's hurting them as far as branding is the media out there. Comic books aren't selling the way that they used to. A lot of comic book stores are closing. A lot of Diamond Select is closing, or they're restructuring. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, so they're restructuring. But a lot of people owe them a lot of freaking money. So my point in bringing that up is the media. G.I. Joe has a comic book. Transformers has a comic book. But there's no cartoon really for G.I. Joe. There's no real cartoon to watch of Transformers that you don't have to jump through hoops to watch. If you want to watch Transformers, you got to watch it on Paramount. Well, a lot of people don't want to pay an extra 10 or 15 or whatever it is for Paramount a month, right?
Paramount sucks. I mean, if it's cheap, it was $1.99, it'd be fine. But.
Right. So, there's a lot of problems and stuff, and they're not, throwing the stuff out there the way that they used to. And that's mainly because of their CEO. Their CEO, Chris Cox, like I said, came from a gaming background, and this is the direction that he's attempting to take the company into, and it will fail miserably. They're talking about gaming. If you guys don't know, Transformers Earth Wars is about to, the company who runs the servers and stuff now is about to lose the licensing, and another company is going to come in and pick up the rights to Transformer Earth Wars. But there's a lot of stuff in question about that game, whether or not, are the servers going to be the same servers? Do people have to start over from scratch? If that's something that you don't want your fan base or your audience to have to worry about. It should be seamless, right? It should be an update, and then the new company's screen logo is on, and then that's it. That's it. It should be seamless. You should never know about it.
Well,
right?
Especially the people that built it up. Like, those people shouldn't suffer. The people that were there since day one.
Yeah. And Oracle in chat says, bring back the Transformers trading card game. That game was on the rise, but here's the problem. It was getting to a point, and I think Wizards of the Coast saw it too. It was getting to a point to where it was going to end up competing with Magic the Gathering, and you don't want to cannibalize your audience in that regard, right? So I think that's what inevitably killed it, is that they knew, they could see the writing on the wall that we're going to be competing with ourselves here, with Magic the Gathering and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the inside trading shit. Like it's just it's just when you crunch the numbers, they just don't want it. It's competing with themselves. So like, why would we do it? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And
A better game would be cool if they could do it too. I like that one, but
which game?
like the card game, the Transformers one.
Yeah,
I liked it, but I mean, it could be done maybe a little better still. But yeah, I like the art in that one. That was cool.
Yeah, I think when me and Oracle were playing it, we started from the first booster box. That's bought the Metroplex deck and everything else, and by the second booster box that had come out, I think it was, or maybe it was the third one because it was Siege, right? Like Siege had two boosters, Siege 1 and Siege 2, right? So like by the time Siege 1 had come out, that card game had really got a really good footing underneath itself, and Wizards of the Coast was starting to promote official tournaments for it. It had gotten really popular really quick. It had a very big cult following, a very big groundswell. And instead of, taking that and running with it, Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast was just like, okay, yeah, we're gonna call it. It's done. It's over. It's whatever, right? And here's the thing: is if I remember right, somebody please, Google this, correct me if I'm wrong, but Chris Cox was still over Wizards of the Coast when that game got canceled. So you're going to take a CEO that didn't know what to do with a game that was on the rise the way that it was and put him in charge of an entire toy company, and his idea is to turn everything to gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stupid decisions that Hasbro has made, stockholders, shareholders, investment firms, all that stuff. They had told Hasbro a long time ago to split Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro as, two different entities or whatever. And Hasbro didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, like Daniel says, I can't believe Hasbro CEO wants to have the company. Oh, what? Have the company to be involved with video games, not seeing what happened with Transformers Reactivate. Yeah, well, maybe it's self-sabotage. Maybe he's seen what happens. He hopes it goes to hell.
So it was what was Diablo? No, not Diablo. What was the game? The Dungeons and Dragons video game that came out about a year or so ago, 2 years ago now, something like that.
Okay.
They made freaking money, like stupid money.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with companies is whenever they see a huge success like that, they want to always capitalize on it and try to, keep it going.
Yeah. Well, that's that Reactivate game too. They wanted it to be like, like that Fortnite style. Then they switched it. Then they wanted it to be like, whatever it's called, AAA game. It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's the Transformers brand. Like War for Cybertron, that that entire game franchise, the 2 out of the 3 games were phenomenal. The third one, Rise of the Dark Spark, was rough to say the least. But it's funny to me that they're so quick to cancel War for Cybertron, the video game, because Rise of the Dark Spark, keels over. They leave Devastation on a cliffhanger because it doesn't sell very well and everything else. And now the new CEO comes in and says, we want to do video games. And all the shareholders, nobody pushes back on this.
No, but the thing is, if they want to do video games, the thing to print money would be re-release those Cybertron games, like the good ones, and have all the online stuff back. I swear people would buy that in a heartbeat. Like maybe res it up a bit, like better HD or something, but can't go over it all. But like if you put those out with all those servers to fight again, I'd know that shit would blow up. Maybe it wouldn't last for years and years, but it would be a hit for a while.
You know what I would do? Like legitimately, I would do a ground up remake of both games, put it on PS5, put it on Xbox, put it on PC.
For sure.
And then do versus servers like they did. And not touch the story, not touch anything about it, just ground up remake, and then just let the fans, murder each other in the game.
And
Go ahead.
like, if they could, like, just to get something out there quick, if they could put the old games out first, just to play, and maybe some online or something online for it, and then doing another game like from the bottom up,
Yeah.
because it'd be good to put something out now and quick just to get the hype up. And people are like religious about those games, like old Gears of War and stuff. So I know it would be a hit. And then, like you said, maybe do one or something else in the bottom up, but keep it all in line. And that would be their new one.
I mean, not to like, sound egotistical or anything, right? But like, I would probably take those games, and I would do like a live, I guess like a live stream where people can come in and play and stuff like that, like with all the viewers and stuff, right? Like all my subscribers and stuff. And just, kind of like, let's just hang out and kill each other with giant robots. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure I wouldn't be the only one. So like the people online would be creating their own little, atmosphere. I guess maybe that's the right word. With people playing these games and stuff. But I just feel like at the end of the day, and there's a lot of bad track record here with Hasbro. There's a lot of unfinished Transformers stuff. There's a lot of unfinished G.I. Joe stuff, and they're getting away from what made them really, really good. And the fact that they're even, thinking about, the switch topics, I guess, the fact that they're even looking at, becoming like a digital, like a rights owner company, and just, letting all this stuff, go to like Super 7 and all this stuff. The problem with that is that I will not buy, right, like a $60, $70 whatever G.I. Joe 7-inch G.I. Joe figure, right, from Super 7. That's going to end up hurting the market because there's no real competition. If they took everything about that they were doing with like Super 7 and doing all that stuff, and actually did it themselves. We've seen evidence here that people want G.I. Joe stuff. Every classified HasLab has hit 15, 20,000 pieces, right? The helicopter, the HISS tank, right? For classified. Stop trying to put this 3 3/4 stuff out there. Stop putting money into that 3 3/4 stuff. The people who have that have it.
And they want the originals, man.
Right. So if you have something, and this is kind of go back into the video game thing, right? This is what I don't understand. You have something that's successful. That helicopters, 20,000 helicopters are out there, right? That's not a rare toy in the slightest.
Yeah.
Right. People spent $400 on that stupid thing blindly. You guys know how I feel about HasLab. They blindly spent $400 to wait a year on this helicopter.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The fans are telling Hasbro where their money is, and Hasbro isn't listening because their CEO's skull is too damn thick. Okay. Like it's a train wreck about to happen, man. It really is.
It is.
So
I'm interested to see it'll go, but yeah, and then I guess we'll touch on this tariff thing, get you to break some of this down or read it out or whatever you feel free to do.
All right. Danny, where'd you pull this from for all of our listeners?
I just asked like the or Gork to whatever, just summarize what's happening with Hasbro and tariff increases.
Okay, so in that same interview with Chris Cox over on Yahoo Finance,
from that too,
Danny AI'd this, I guess, so like it's just bullet points from what he said. So I'm gonna read this out loud for everybody who's listening and not watching. It says, here's a concise version of the tariff impact on Hasbro's toys in short form, quote unquote, power notes. First bullet point is tariffs increase cost. U.S. tariffs 20% on China, 10% February 2025, plus 10% recent, 25% on Mexico and Canada as of March 2025, and Hasbro heavily reliant on China, though dropping from 50% to under 40% of U.S. sourcing by 2027. So their Transformers brand, as we know, 99% of it is made in Taiwan. The reason why I leave that extra 1% there is mainly just because of Takara and stuff like that, right? So yeah,
Is it Taiwan or Vietnam, or is it both?
or Vietnam? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
what did I say?
sorry.
Taiwan? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Vietnam. Yeah. So look, I've had like 2 glasses of wine. Okay.
No,
so
no, I know.
kinda,
Just
right.
Yeah.
I'm lightweight, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, Vietnam, and so Transformers should not be affected. If Transformers is affected by any tariffs or anything else, you should really start raising an eyebrow and start picketing Rhode Island headquarters or whatever before they move to California or wherever they're talking about moving to.
Mhm.
I don't know about GI Joe. I think GI Joe is made in China. And I really think Transformers, I believe, is the only brand that is made in Vietnam.
I think
As
so at this point, yeah.
right, I think Marvel Legends are still based in China and stuff like that. But they were talking about in this that if anything tariff wise that impacts the company will go straight onto the buyer. And that's frustrating because we've had in the last 5 years alone price hikes from Hasbro out the ass. We've had, and I believe in 2022 there was 2 price hikes. 2020 or 20 whenever Siege came out, Siege price hike from $17.99 to $19.99.
Yeah.
And then in 2021 it jumped up to like $22.99. And then in 2022 there was 2 price hikes. It went up to 23 and then $24.99. And that's kind of where it stayed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even like it says on this PowerPoint thing, it says like then the cost, like some of the regular toys won't be affected, but the cost will especially go to collectors, right? Because they're like they said they're already used to price hikes is their excuse, right?
Yeah, and that's disgusting. Is that that's the excuse. The collectors are already used to it, so fuck them.
Yeah,
That's
it's part of the it's already part of the the system of the marketing to them, which is it's disturbing actually.
Yeah, it totally is, because if these companies, I think I said it at the beginning, maybe I said it to you backstage, Danny. If these companies actually took that money, their bonuses, and reinvested back into the company, the customer wouldn't be on the hook for these price increases. These companies would be able to eat those price increases while still selling more product.
Mm-hmm.
If you think I'm lying, I want you to do here's a thought test for you, right? If something is on the shelf for $14.99 and something the exact same thing is on the shelf for $24.99, the exact same thing, same package, same figures, same accessories, same colors, same everything, right? One's priced at 15, one's priced at 25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you going to buy 2 of them at 25? You can go and buy 2 of them at $15.99. Because at $15.99, you're $5 away from 30. You're still saving $20. You're $5 away from the price of 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're going to sell more.
Totally.
Right. The other thing is too, is like we've seen this with the oil crisis back in the 70s. The main reason why figures switched from 12-inch GI Joe dolls and stuff like that to, and yes, GI Joe is a doll, to 3 3/4-inch Star Wars and GI Joe, is because price savings. They knew full damn well that a $60 GI Joe wasn't going to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
They knew full well that wasn't going to ever work. And again, it'll work here again. We've seen, we've seen it work in the past. I don't understand why it can't work here if they're that afraid of it, because that's going to end up hurting their business.
Oh, totally. Even here it says risks, like, because they're saying, we're just going to move it all to Vietnam, where there could be they could be hit with even worse tariffs there, and it could just backfire in their face, and costs could be even more.
And yeah, I hope it does backfire in their face. I hope that this is the final line in the stand for collectors to realize, like, hey, I'm not buying every last one of these figures in the line or in the wave or whatever the case may be. I might buy one every line, every other wave or whatever, or you start nitpicking which characters you want or whatever. But if we're staring down the pipeline of $30 deluxes for Transformers or $30 6-inch GI Joe figures or whatever, what ends up happening, to the buyer, in the sense that what's going to be the line that pushes them to other lines, right? Like in the case of Marvel Legends, they go up to $30 a figure. Why not start looking at a Mafex? Why not start looking at a Mezco? Why not start looking at these other these import lines that use better quality materials, give you way more accessories and stuff like that, like
Yeah. And in Canada, the great state of Canada, like everything's really high already. It's 35 a deluxe. It could be 38, 40 something dollars at Toys R Us for a GI Joe figure already. So price hikes even more. And like I said, they don't even restock the shelves much anymore. And a part of it was just finding it in person that was fun and all that. And now like you can't even find it in person, and it's like twice, triple the cost almost, especially if you're trying to buy a whole wave. Like it's just not as fun as it used to be, and that has a part of it. And then they're not even on the shelf at that price.
I think this might end up being an excuse for them. Conspiracy tinfoil hat thing. If they lose that lawsuit against their investors, they're going to need to cough up that money to pay them somehow. Whatever, if they end up losing like, $12 billion or whatever, some stupid amount that they're being sued for, they have to have that money in ready to go to pay in like some sort of bank account or whatever the case may be. Right. So, this might just be Hasbro kind of, planning to lose. And if they don't lose, then hey, the money goes back to our CEOs, and Chris Cox gets another $12 million bonus for doing absolutely nothing. So,
and you can already see like that third quarter or whatever, this quarter, like it's down, and this isn't going to help it.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like, and the second bullet point here is production shifts. He says diversifying supply chain, less China, some more to Vietnam, and minimal Mexico imports, and none from Canada. So my understanding of how all this stuff gets boxed is like it's made and then boxed in Canada and then shipped to like the warehouse in America, then shipped out all over the world, right?
Yeah, shipped from east to west, west to east.
Right. So that's never made any sense to me at all whatsoever. No. So minimal Mexico imports. Does Hasbro import anything from Mexico?
They have. I don't know if exactly from Hasbro, but yeah, I know other toy companies have in the past. I think Hasbro may have done it in the past, but they did stop. I can't remember.
Okay, and then none from Canada. Well,
not worth it now.
Yeah. Third bullet point is price hikes coming. CEO Chris Cox, March 2025 says costs passed to consumers, especially collectors. And collector toys, e.g. Transformers Generations, may see bigger increase versus kids' toys.
Yeah,
because we've got the higher disposable income, and but here's the thing: is dude, they've already thinned out their plastic. They've already hollowed out the thighs again. They're using ball joints again. They're using everything that they got away from with Siege. They've implemented it all back. They don't use screws anymore. They use pins for damn near everything because pins are cheaper. So they've already cut cost drastically. So these generation Transformers, if these tariffs actually come to fruition, and the United States President Pig Shit doesn't back out again, right? Like, and he actually goes through with this stuff, the plastic's going to end up getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner to the point to where you're not going to be able to tell a difference between the kid's toy and the collector's toy, right? So then at that point, what's the point? Like that goes back to what I was saying earlier. When do you look at that Blitzwing or Starscream or, you know, whatever the case may be, sitting on the shelf and go, you know what? I think I'm going to go check out this Fans Toys Meteor or whatever the case may be. I'm going to spend $120 on that instead of 40 on this, or 50 or 60. What will the price be? What would the price be for a Voyager? If a Voyager right now is what, 35, say $40 after tax?
Yeah, though they were 35 here before, they went to 50, so they'd probably be in Canada. They'd go the leader price would be close to 70.
Yeah, see, that's absurd. So at what point do you take that $70 for a Voyager and start looking at a Fans Toys of the same character?
Or something else is buying vintage toys, like just you don't have to be don't have to be in anyone's like the market of like new stuff at that point. Like I'd probably just back out and collect more older stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen a lot of people beginning to do. Especially when they come into the toy store and stuff. That's all they want, you know?
Yeah, because you can buy it at your own time. Yes, prices inflate and they go down with different markets, but you're not a slave to like get this line. It won't be around. Yeah, some stuff might become more rarer or whatever over time, but prices do come up and down drastically all the time, right?
Yeah. T-Talk Raw in the chat says, in the live chat says, you know, I never understood why Hasbro themselves couldn't establish their own manufacturing facilities here in the Western Hemisphere. I know there's initial cost involved, but over time. So the reason why a lot of these companies started outsourcing factory jobs to China and stuff like that is a lot of multiple different reasons, but like the main one was that the cost over here for labor just got really, really expensive.
Yeah, and you guys ship it, like you guys didn't have the same plants anymore too. And
yeah. So
and yeah, it's $49 for a Voyager in Canada from like GameStop or anywhere. They're even more expensive at Toys R Us, and that's before tax. So I mean,
so I want to put this in perspective for everybody listening. Danny, what is the minimum wage in Canada?
I think like where I'm at now, it's like $18 an hour or something.
Okay, so $18 an hour.
Check.
Okay, the minimum wage in Canada. We're gonna find this out real quick.
It's all different, but where I am, yeah, minimum wage BC, and I lived in the most expensive. Yeah, it's $17.85, and I do live in the most expensive, like one of the most expensive provinces, and then even directly where I live is highly expensive. Like, a shitty, like 3-bedroom like house made in 1980 will probably cost you $1 million now to buy.
Okay. So you guys are basically facing the same kind of situation that we have here, where minimum wage, it might sound like a lot, but it's really not a lot when you compare it against cost of living and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's kind of my point here. The minimum wage in the United States is $7.50, right? Yeah. Minimum wage for this stuff, minimum wage is not going up, but the prices on these are going up, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I get, where I'm getting at here is that when do you start valuing your money versus the product that you're receiving versus what the company is basically, lack of a better term here, getting away with, right? If you're shooting up a $50 Voyager, if you're looking at a $75, $80 leader at that point.
Yeah, they are, right? Yeah.
Again, and it's Optimus Prime or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, when does the customer start valuing their dollar more and start getting the third party stuff that has die cast and heavier plastics and thicker plastics and more robust materials and stuff, right?
Yeah, it sucks. The cost of living is so high, and like I said, I did Google it because I just want to make sure. But yeah, like it is the most expensive province, the province I live in, and you're paying the sunshine tax, they call it. Like you've seen it in my videos. Like it is a beautiful place. Like I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in Canada, but it's just like it's just, yeah, we're paying a lot of, there's a lot more tax, there's double tax, there's GST and all this stuff. Like it just, they just pile it on. And like, yeah, it's like you want to be here. People in my family are born here, but the price is going so high, and you still want to collect and have fun, but it makes it harder and harder.
Yeah, and collectors are going to end up turning away and like I said, valuing their money somewhere else and finding the exact same dopamine hit with something else.
Yeah. I do sarcastic shit. I'm like, you don't have enough money, you don't belong in the hobby. Yeah, it's all said in jest and for fun, but at this point it's almost, sadly, it's becoming true, because like if you didn't have extra work or extra stuff, like you couldn't afford this hobby anymore in this type of living that we're in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember when minimum wage here was $7.25 and it first went up to $7.25. Transformers Generations was like $9.99 a figure. And now minimum wage is still $7.25, and we're looking at a $24 figure with a price hike possibly around the quarter. Like that's absurd. Financial outlook, next bullet point.
Yeah.
Or no, go ahead. T-Talk Raw.
Do that, and then go through the thing. Yeah.
He says, T-Talk Raw on the live chat says, to run it back a bit about what you said, input, yeah, labor is much cheaper overseas, but how is Lego the most profitable year after year when they make their stuff in-house in Denmark? Long-term Hasbro? Oh, I see, against like long-term Hasbro.
Yeah.
I think what it is, I don't know how the laws of Denmark work. I'm pretty sure that has something to play into it. They have, they have outstanding labor laws there. They have outstanding worker protection, like protect worker rights and stuff like that. I'm not too sure. I would say that it pretty much boils down to how that company is ran for its employees versus what the laws are in that country. So, but that's a really good point, though. Not to take your point away or try to argue it or dismiss it or anything, but like, and that's something that's worth looking into, though, for real.
Yeah, in Denmark they do have some of the highest taxes in the world. It says so.
Yeah,
but yeah, Go on from a financial outlook.
Financial output. February 2025 guidance adjusted EBITDA. 1.1 billion to 1.15 billion, up from 1.6 billion in 2024. So basically, their estimated value, Hasbro's estimated value, is up. And mitigation via pricing adjustments and cost cutting. So yeah, we see it right there, cost cutting. They're going to thin out the plastic. GI Joes are, and this, I've said this before, they own Transformers, they own GI Joe, right? Why are GI Joes $25 a figure? Why? That makes absolutely no sense, right?
I thought those waffles were awful. You should see what we got in store.
Next historic bullet point says historical impact. The 2019 tariffs canceled orders by 2%. U.S. revenue dropped. Okay, sorry, this is worded weird.
Robot.
Yeah, AI. The AI wrote this, folks. 2019 tariffs canceled orders. So orders got canceled because of the 2019 tariffs. 2% U.S. revenue drop, 20% profit decline, 15% plus share plunge. So
shares plundered.
Yeah, like their shares on the stock market in 2019 plunged by 15%. Their profit overall dropped by 20% because a lot of people backed out because you raised prices and like
lower quality.
Exactly. You lowered the quality, you raised the prices. Like, dude, it's all there. And this is one thing companies don't understand. The stuff is in plain sight. Companies love revisionist history. Absolutely, they do. And they will put their nose down and try to, bull their way through all this stuff. And it's just not going to work. Next bullet point is consumer impact. Prices likely up within months per Hasbro's statements. And Twitter post, fans expect hikes. Some blame tariffs. Others see it as typical Hasbro pattern. And that's like I said before, Hasbro is blaming the tariffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is them, trying to get ready for that lawsuit somehow or whatever. And here's the thing, Chris Cox gave this interview, and while he was giving the interview, when he said that prices were going to go up, Hasbro's shares jumped up by 3 points. So I would just like to also point that out as well. Okay. I don't think it stayed at a +3, but it still jumped up +3. So Oracle chat in the live chat, Oracle Dream says Lego has marketed their adult collections very well along with their children's line. That's number 2. While the boxes aren't generated? What? They really leaned into both gendered. Okay. While the boxes aren't gendered, they really lean into both the boy and girl market. And number 3, their current line can work with pieces that are over 20 years old. Number 4, they do not underestimate their base. If there is a QC issue, it will be rectified. And number 5, they actively research a quality CEO friendly and cost-saving plastics, or eco-saving, quality, eco-friendly, and cost-saving plastics. So yeah, there you go. So basically, Lego values their customers, and Hasbro doesn't.
Lego, my Lego. And then, yeah, like we said, if they're trying to ship it to Vietnam, but that could backfire in their face because tariffs could be placed in or other problems. And if they try to ship to somewhere else right now, they're screwed anyways. So.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like the last bullet point is risk. Potential Vietnam's tariffs could worsen cost. Yeah. It's kind of what all this was about. Like,
totally.
that entire Chris Cox interview, bro, is brutal. The guy just, man. Yeah, somebody needs to let him go, bro, and just call it quits. The Chris Cox experiment has not worked.
Yo, you're late again, player.
What's up, T-Fan?
Yeah, no, I know, and I agree. Yeah, it's just, it sucks because you know what? Like at the end of the day, like I like I said, I've said it 100 times already on this podcast. It is fun to find this stuff in store, especially when it was at a cheap price. And like if there's QEC issues, like I said, at certain things at the right price, you can look more over it. Just a little bit. It still sucks, but like it wasn't like as like and like I said, it's experience finding it, having fun, opening the toy, taking it home, the hunt, chatting with people that you run into in the stores. But a lot of that is dead now. I know a lot of collectors don't even go to the stores because they know they can't find the product. And if they can't even find the product, it costs too much. And it's just taken away of the actual old school fun before, probably the COVID time and all that, right?
You know what? You brought up a good point, right? Like when you said things used to be in stores. Okay. When you pay for something in a store, $24.99 here is $27.05 after tax. Okay, you always got to pull out at least a 20 and a 10 to pay for something.
Yeah.
Right? If I buy anything offline because I can't find it in store, I have to pay shipping, which is anywhere between $5 and $15, depending on the item, depending on where I order it from, whatever the case may be, right? I don't like combining the two together because on one hand, I am paying for a service and then the item is not the same as the service. But you are still, one way or the other, however you want to break it down, you are still out $50, give or take, anywhere between $40 to $50 for that $25 item. Yeah.
In Canada, dude, it can range from like $19 to $25 the shipping. So you buy a figure at $30-something, $37, another $20-something in shipping. Ugh.
Well, dude, and my point in saying that is that if they just threw things in store and made it more available in stores, I don't think that people would be second guessing. Like I said, okay, you buy 2 figures, that's $50, right? That's $55, give or take, after tax here. And then shipping on that, boom, you're looking at $15. So that's $70 on 2 figures, right? If you found it in store, that's $50. Then what happens, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, Now you can buy 3 figures because 3 figures is only $5 more than when you bought 2 offline. You feel like you're stretching your dollar. You feel like you're getting more for your money. And all it needs to do is get stuff into retail. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I buy a lot off Big Bad because you can do their combined shipping, which is still sometimes it gets hit with duty, sometimes it doesn't. And you can, and from ages 3 and up in Canada, you can order from them, and after over $200, shipping is free. So that's pretty cool, but it still adds up. So
yeah. T-Talk Raw in the live chat says, "Hey, that's what I was thinking, Danny. So many shipping costs would be reduced if some things were at least manufactured here in the West."
yeah, they would. I know it could take a long time for something like that to happen. Like, you know, it sucks we don't have more, even in Canada, more places where they could build products and just, you know, not to get too political, but all the stuff that's happening. You know, Canada is looking into doing a lot on their own, not toy wise, but you know, just, you know, if we did have that stuff here and, you know, made some of our own products here, that'd be cool, right?
Yeah, yeah. And just real quick, you know, they're talking about the price hikes and stuff. You know, their Marvel Legends, they just unveiled that $50 maximum Spider-Man figure, right? I can't wait. Can't wait when the second maximum figure line comes out. Can't wait to see what their excuse is that time. Because this figure skirted in right before the tariffs, right before all that stuff, everything else, right? I can't wait for them to do a black suit Spider-Man and have less accessories and then be like, and it's $65 and then be like, oh, it was the tariffs, guys, right?
I can't wait to buy an extra one of those figures and send it to you just so you can rip it apart. Showing all your Mayfex, buy it or whatever. That'd be priceless.
Yeah, right? Mayfex life.
That seems to wrap that up. I mean, we killed it. Yeah, no, you know, thank you for everyone being here. Is there anything else you want to say or put out there? Do you have any topics for next week or?
Yeah, next week episode, we are going to come live and fast and furious at you, Vin Diesel style, Paul Walker riding shotgun, fast and furious style, baby. We're going to be talking about letting go. That's it. Just letting go.
Let it go. Let it go when I'm in the snow. Yeah, perfect. Letting it go. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Thank you, everyone, for contributing. The Oracle helping out in the chat. Everyone else, TFN page, late but better than never. And yeah, no, great. We'll see you next week, I guess, eh?
Yep, sounds like a plan to me.
Okay, someone special wants to take us out, and then yeah, thanks. To see you next week.
I got something to share. When you walked through the door, you were queer to me. Come here, baby boy, come here to me. You're a rock star, everybody wants you. You're gayer than you would ever claim to. I won't have to rip you. So hold me, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down.
Thank you for joining us. It has been a pleasure. However, we must now conclude the program. We appreciate your viewership and apologize should we have inadvertently disrupted your evening. Please do not take any offense. We look forward to presenting another engaging topic next week, and we extend our gratitude for your continued support.
You can't stop it, no, the bass gonna break. Tidal waves crashing till the whole ground shakes. Danny, dolphins swimming through electric seas. In the dark we thrive, no time to freeze.